In your time.
Hi, I'm Chris, and I've got some magazines for you. Thank you very much. Go down. So originally, that wasn't my idea. I didn't really have anything, really. I had so many ideas floating around in my head, but I couldn't really decide. But eventually, after pretty much the whole term, I finally narrowed it down to something that I thought, this is a good idea. I'm going to work with this. So it's kind of a satire piece because throughout the project I didn't really feel like I could relate to homeless people because I was kind of, well, not really interested, I guess. It's probably really mean to say it, but like you don't really look at them. Like, I don't really want to be involved with them, to be honest. Might be really hard to say it, but it's kind of true. But I've been really kind of blunt with it and quite in your face and controversial because I wanted to see if it would raise awareness on how homeless people are abused or if it would just kind of boost that up and make them be abused a bit more. I thought whilst I was designing it, one page kind of stood out. Let's get a few up here. So the first page that kind of stood out to me after I flicked through my little red prototype, which I've got here somewhere amongst the pile of debris. So this is my little prototype. Loads of different pages with stuff like get a job, cretin, thief, all sorts of derogatory terms, just bringing them down. And the get a job one really stood out to me because they got themselves there. It's their fault, you know, everyone would assume that. Get a job, sort your life out. So I thought to kind of link this all together, I'd go for the job centre. That's a good place to go. It's a good place to start, I guess. So I looked around, looked at their design, quite liked it. Thought, it's got some green in it, like that. Yellow, it's all good. Quite positive colours when you think about it. Then I just kind of expanded on that and grabbed an application form because I recently lost my job at Butlins. Woo! And yeah, free from that. Then after a while I kind of thought, being a bit mean with this, I need to be a bit more PC, I guess, and try not to discriminate too much, but I kind of did just for the controversial and like shocking people. I looked at an artist called Tracy Emin who created a 10 and like stitched all different people that she'd slept with over like years from like 1965 to 1995, I think. And obviously people would automatically assume slept with means sleeping with. You know what I mean. But it doesn't, because she slept with her gran, but not in that way, obviously. And it was just kind of, it was kind of a personal piece, but then obviously people were like, oh! So it had lots of hype to it. But to really understand why I'm like this, I needed to look back, right back to like Victorian times. Because back in the Victorian days they had a class system, which is still around today. So they had the upper class, the middle class, the working class, and then the underclass or the sunken people, which are the homeless, basically. And then I thought I'd look at racism and discrimination, because I've been doing a load of it in this. And it's kind of inbred into us from our backgrounds that we're raised in. Because you see kids, they're so cruel. I'm not even kidding, they beat me up at Butlins, that's bad. But they like pick on each other at school, bullying, and they're always trying to find weaknesses and differences, and they just kind of exploit that and make people feel bad about it. But it gets a reaction, and they kind of like the attention and the reaction that they get, and it kind of gives them a bit of, oh, I feel so good about myself. And there was this one little test by a teacher called Jane Elliott called the Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes test, where she had a class of students in like year 4, I guess, it's American, kind of just trying to translate it. And she split the class into like half the class had like blue eyes, half the other class had brown eyes. On the first day, she told them that all the blue-eyed people, like me, were better than every other person in the room with brown eyes. And automatically, these kids turned into little savages and started, oh, brown eyes, and the blue-eyed people got privileges like getting extra recess time, getting extra food at lunch, all sorts of things, and they were just generally better. And then the next day, she flipped it round. So the brown-eyed people had exactly the same as the blue-eyed people had. And it kind of crisscrossed, and all the blue people were like, oh, we had this yesterday, why are we worse now, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of understood it and tried to get it. I just thought it was interesting seeing them change so quickly just with stereotyping. Just because the teacher, the authoritative figure, had said, oh, you're better, or oh, you're worse. You're not really like worth it. And it kind of made me consider, why do we automatically look for weaknesses and strengths naturally? I guess maybe it's something to do with like survival. Then I was thinking about the bystander effect, which is where, there was a saying by Stalin, I think, and it was, if one man dies, it's a tragedy, and if 1,000 die, it's just a statistic. Because obviously, if one person dies, like say your mum, I don't know, you'd kind of feel that on a personal level, and you'd be really emotionally attached to that, so you'd feel sad and whatever. But say if loads of people died, you wouldn't automatically make that connection personally, because there'd be so many, such a vast amount of numbers, that it'd just become a number to you, and it'd soften the blow a little bit. I'll skip through a few slides just to get a bit of variation. So with this design, because there's text behind it, I kind of played around with it, but you couldn't really read the font that I wanted you to be able to read, because obviously the black text was contrasting through the white text, and it was complete and utter mess. So I thought I'd put white behind it so that it's got solid coming through. That is not an ice cream, that is a poo. You will understand, because the next page says you stink. That is a double page spread, but you can't see that on the screen. Now, I made this page because I thought homeless people usually have scraggy beards, and they might not have had a father to raise them and teach them how to shave their beard. But I thought to give it like this little interactive kind of feel, I'd add a little hair onto it, so people are like, there's a hair there. Kind of rub it and they try and get it off, but you can't because it's not real hair. And then obviously just have a shave on the next page. And then I made this man last night at about 3:30 in the morning out of ellipses and circles and stuff, because I did have illustrations originally, but there was more vector stuff based in there, so I thought I'd make a vector cretin, because my next page says cretin, because homeless people are cretins. Then we've got like an old school jail suit, and thieves, because people are like, oh, homeless people, they've got nothing to lose, they'll just thieve everything.